Hello, everyone, and welcome to Experience the Power of Peace Global Online Gathering, in which we gather for powerful conversations with inspiring speakers to call in and embody peace. This gathering is designed to inspire, uplift, and empower us to experience peace as power and heal wounded hearts, calm the chaos in the world, and bring peace to earth right here, right now. I am Laura Gates Lepton, and I am delighted to introduce you to my friend, the host and creator of this event, Laura V. Laura is a spiritual teacher, sacred circle facilitator, intuitive healer, and energy channel. She is the founder of the Awakened Soul community and the creator of the Embodied Awakening Circle and the 28 Days of Embodied Awakening workbook. Laura guides heart-centered women to call in and embody their higher selves, offering energetic healing, divine connection, and the soul medicine of truly being seen and heard. She channels custom invocation journeys and holds sacred, grounded space for deep transformation. Her work began in 2023 during a profound healing season that led her to spiritual teacher Benjamin Bernstein. What started as a hesitant astrology session became a life-changing initiation into soul-led consciousness through instant divine assistance invocations. Guided by her higher self, Laura began practicing, channeling, and eventually teaching invocation work, receiving powerful energetic transmissions and leading healing circles that brought real, tangible peace to others. She's since become a guest leader in Benjamin's membership, created her own signature programs, and helped women awaken to their gifts, release emotional burdens, and attune to the frequency of their own souls. Laura's presence brings calm, clarity, and deep spiritual resonance. Her mission is to support women in embodying their truth, healing deeply, and walking as the radiant souls that they are. So we're going to talk about peace is power and connecting with the divine love that leads the way. And Laura, how did you come into this work? How did you get started?
Thanks for that introduction, Laura. I'm going to start with a story, and it starts in 2017. I woke up not to a spiritual awakening exactly, but to the truth of the trauma I had survived as a child. Memories I had buried for decades began to surface. What followed was 18 months of intense healing, full of flashbacks, body memories, and parts of me rising to the surface, needing to be seen, heard, and loved. 18 months later, my daughter announced that she could see and talk to spirits. That thrust me into a whole new world I had not anticipated. Her revelation led us to a community of psychic mediums, and suddenly we weren't alone. We were surrounded by others who knew, who saw, who felt. In that sacred space, both of us began to explore and develop our spiritual gifts. I learned to channel through automatic writing. I discovered the meadow, a sacred inner realm where I could meet my guides and receive guidance. I started doing readings with my daughter at psychic fairs under the name Rainbow Soul. I was guided to teach others how to meet their spirit teams in the meadow too. I received a really powerful message from my spirit team one day as I wrestled with the question, how does a loving God allow children to suffer like I did? The answer was divine love does not rescue us from the lessons we are here to learn, but divine love does walk with us to alleviate the suffering to the extent we will allow it. That one sentence became the backbone of my spiritual journey moving forward. In 2023, the trauma intensified. The flashbacks and the body memories were getting stronger, and I was feeling like I was drowning in this new activity that seemed to have been settled for a few years. In January of that year, I was in a channeling challenge, and on the very first day, I received a message from my guides, and it was a message of New Earth. And the words they gave me, I was like, wait a minute, this is like Gene Roddenberry's vision. And they said, exactly. I'm like, fantastic. Awesome. And here are the words to the song. I received the words, saw that they had the potential of becoming a full-blown lyric. And so I created a song that is kind of becoming an anthem. So I'll share it with you now. Peace on earth, goodwill toward man. Peace will reign and war will end. Take in the happy, joyous sound of peace on earth where heaven is found. No more aggression, no more fear, no more violence, for love reigns here. No more darkness, hope is near, for love is light, and light reigns here. Take in the joyous, happy sound of singing, laughing is all around. Take in the happy, joyous sound of peace on earth where heaven is found. No more aggression, no more fear, no more violence, for love reigns here. No more illness, no more pain, no more suffering, for harmony will reign. Joy and laughter will abound, singing, laughing all around. Take in the happy, joyous sound of peace on earth where heaven is found. Joy and laughter will abound, singing, laughing all around. Take in the happy, joyous sound of peace on earth where heaven is found. Yes, here on earth where love will reign. Yes, here on earth where love now reigns.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you. And it was interesting because I was nervous about sharing this with people, and I sang it for a Reiki healer who I met a few months later. And we had gotten to know each other for a few months when I finally got the courage to share the song with him. And he said, Laura, you have a moral imperative to share the song. Because what he experienced was in the beginning, it was in the future, but somewhere in the middle, it like shifted energetically for him that it became the present. And it kind of took me aback, like, whoa, what is this? But honestly, I think that's what we're seeing right now is um back in 2023, the vision for New Earth was there was going to be this split, and those of us who are light workers were going to go on to, paradise, and those who weren't with it were going to stay and burn on
Mm.
Earth. And it really felt icky to me. But now, 2 years later, these same channelers are saying a very different message. So that gives me encouragement, and hope that we really are moving in this direction, even though it looks like the world's completely falling apart right now. There is evidence of this, and that's partly why we're doing this event is to help us really experience this and be hopefully be able to see it more easily once we're done. So now we'll move on back to the story. So a few weeks after I received that, I received another message that was promises made, promises given, promises kept. And the sense I got was that we'd crossed some threshold and this was a done deal. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what you're talking about, but whatever. so so then a few months later, I met this Reiki healer, and we started talking about metaphysics because he's also a trance channel and a spiritual teacher. And one day, as we were sitting in a session, he said something about higher self that really meant something to me. He said, think of your higher self as J.K. Rowling, and you're the Harry Potter character. It's higher self's job to know the storyline, but it's your job to just be in the story and not worry about what's going to happen next. Like, because like when you read a book, you want to jump like 100 pages ahead to see where where this all ends up. It's like, no, you don't get to do that. That's for your higher self to know, but not for you. And the weirdest thing was I felt my body release something like that was
Mhm.
such relief for me and subconsciously, because consciously it made no sense. I mean, it was okay, but yeah, it was really interesting. But the funny thing was, a few moments later, as we're talking, my higher self started talking through me. And he said, your higher self just said right. And then I heard right. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, which just happened? And then my higher self dropped into my body. This had never happened before. I had been working really hard at aligning with my higher self, trying to feel more connected to her. But this was something brand new for me. And what it felt like was a parent had come home. And I was thinking of the movie Home Alone. And it was like the children has been running this body for most of my life. And then I was like, where have you been all my life? It was that profound for me. And then the very next week, we're talking again and we mentioned higher self. And then, like, I feel this holiness descend in the space. And I felt the Christ drop in. And what he noticed was he said, I've seen God energy come into people. And usually what happens is the human part like moves aside for the God energy to come in and then it leaves and the human comes back. But that's not what's happening right here. I'm seeing total integration. And that triggered something for the Christ to come through me and say, this is where humanity is headed. Total integration of the human and the divine. I was like, oh. So it was really interesting. 2023 was a time of really powerful messages to come through me in really different ways. So that has stayed with me for good reason. Um, but as I went forward, I've seen this message come through more and more through others, and for me to see it more myself. So it's really interesting to have kind of that preview and then see it actually unfolding in front of me. So yeah, so that was the beginning of 2023 for me, while at the same time I was really struggling with these new it was a new intensity of the flashbacks. They were more vivid, they were more real, and they were really disrupting my life. And by the end of the summer, I was in a place where I'm like, I cannot live this way for the rest of my life. That this is not okay. And the only answer I could see to the problem was to leave. It's like, I want to get off this rock. Get me out. And they said, no, we made a promise. And here was the promise. Actually, there were two pieces to this promise. One was, you will see new earth in your lifetime, which kind of blows me away. But the second one was, we made a promise that you would experience yourself as a soul without having to die and cross the veil. I was like, what? Like, how is that possible? Because I had found myself saying for months was that I couldn't wait to cross over and ask my soul, what in the heck were you thinking choosing this life experience because it sucked? and, and um and they said, no, you're not going to have to cross over to have that question answered or to know yourself, to be whole as a soul again. Because that was the other thing I was thinking is I'm fragmented from all the trauma that I survived as a child, and I wouldn't get to experience myself as a whole being again until I had crossed over back into my soul self. And I guess I'll talk a little bit about that because I didn't mention that earlier. When I was studying with this medium, he had said to me, when souls cross over back into the light, the human part just kind of falls away and you go back into being a pure being of love and light. And that really spoke to me. That felt like a soul truth to me. And so that's always in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, when I cross over, I'll be back to my radiant soul self as this being of love and light. And so why should I hang out here anymore? But they had plans. So after saying that to me, it wasn't shortly after that the solution they proposed was to get an astrology session with Benjamin Bernstein.
Oh,
Yeah, like what, how is an astrology session going to help me with trauma stuff? Like what are you doing? But 30 minutes later it was done. I was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And so I got the session. And a lot of what he said was not a surprise to me. He saw in my chart where I planned this life experience. I'm like, okay. But the next part got me. He said, but look, Chiron is opposite this, and that means you're here to heal it. And I was like, hold up, what? Because basically, I had just resigned myself to the idea that, I'd healed as much as I was going to heal, and I was just going to have to, limp along and do my best with this. And so the idea that this could be healed
Mm.
was something that just uh, was beyond what I could even imagine. And so that was part one. Part two was he says, I can see your parts are taking over you, and the only way you're going to get through this is to be an embodied awakening. Do you have a consistent, reliable way to do it? And I'm like, no, no. And he said, well, I have the invocation. And I said, yeah, but it doesn't work for me. And he said, would you mind doing it in front of me? I'm like, be my guest. So I did it and I said the words. And then he's like, there's resistance. And I couldn't sense it, but as soon as he said it, I felt it. I knew exactly where it was. And so he said, sit with it, be with it, and then go back to zero. I'm like, well, how the heck am I going to do that? So my higher self came through and said, just take in a deep breath and let it release it on the out breath. Oh, I can do that. And sure enough, it worked. And I got into embodied awakening. And I was like, oh. And I thought, okay, I can work with this. So at the end of the session, I said, okay, I'm open to trying this with you and let's give this a shot. So a week later, we had our first session, and it was something beyond my wildest dreams.
Mm.
Um, the part that came forward to be healed, I knew her. She was my 5-year-old part. I named her Debbie. She looked just like me when I was a kindergartner, and I knew she carried most of the memories of the sex trafficking that I lived through as a child, and I had known that children had died in my presence. I knew that I had witnessed this because I was there for 8 years. Um, but what I didn't know was that they had killed a child in front of me when I was 4 to shut me up. And that was what got healed that day. And in 2 hours, we healed and unburdened her, and she literally rejoined the healthy system in me. And I was like, this didn't happen. I was in denial for a while because in 2 hours, all of that can happen. It was voodoo magic in my mind. But a week later, I checked in and I said, Debbie, you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm great, Mom. Like, wait, what? And so that gave me the idea, okay, I'll try again. And so I did another session with him and we unburdened 2 parts. And then we just kept going and I seemed to have a real talent for it. And we were moving fast. And so by the seventh session, we got to a really deep wound that I had been carrying. It had come through back in July when I had been working with the Reiki healer. And it was this idea that, I had known God, but then God went away and I'd been spending my whole life trying to get it back. And in that session, we healed that thing. And this was really important. He called in the energy of divine love, and I couldn't feel it, but I could feel the effects of it. And then as it was working on me, by the end, I could feel it. And the coolest thing that happened was I caught a glimpse of me. Now, it looked like me as a little girl. She was just so happy and free and vibrant and radiant and beautiful. She was shimmery. It was just gorgeous. And I was thinking, oh, that was me before the trauma. But the next morning when I woke up, my guide said, no, 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 no. That's you before you incarnated.
Mm.
Congratulations. You remember. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So that's how she presented herself to me. And so I can now connect with that energy when I want to. And the very next one session, which was kind of the last of the first sessions that we did that kind of changed everything for me, um, is I called in my mom and she had me merge with her and she raised me to soul level awareness. And I got to know myself, experience myself as the soul that I am. And that was the promise they had made, was that I would know myself that way. And sure enough, they delivered. Not in any way that I expected. And that was a really great thing because after that experience, I learned two things. Because my mom was showing me how she said, look, the pain that I lived through has made me the soul that I am now. It expanded her, it made her a deeper, richer, more radiant being of love. And by showing me that for her, I was learning that that was true for me. And so I got to swim in this well of love that is me. And after that experience, I've never had the question ever again of, what were you thinking choosing this experience? Because now I know, we chose this. I think there are pieces, layers to it that I'm not aware of, but the part that I needed to know was that the experience has made me this broader, richer, deeper, more full being of love than before. And humanly, it has changed me forever. So yeah, that's kind of the journey. And after that, I had started practicing these invocations as a regular thing. And I was connecting with my guides every day. And just a couple of weeks later, they started giving me invocations. And then they gave me the idea to go see if I could get 20 women into embodied awakening. And if I could get all 20 of them into embodied awakening, I should do this professionally. And I got 30 women into embodied awakening before December, which was mind-boggling, but it was so natural and easy. It was so cool. And then I created a program and two ladies said yes. And I got to walk this journey with them and share with them what was coming through me. And they had beautiful experiences. And then that led to creating 28 days of invocation practice, where I got to invite a lot of people in. And we got to do this on a monthly basis for a while. And I started learning what the heck this is and what it looks like. And I led a women's healing circle. And yeah, and now we're here.
I remember because you and I have known each other for a while. I remember that you and I connected on Zoom when you were in probably the last part of this healing journey that you just described. And I remember thinking, what the heck happened? Because you looked like a different person.
Yeah,
And
you actually teared up. I was like,
yeah,
whoa, why is this happening? Yeah, because
well,
when you're in it, you don't see it, you know?
yeah, yeah. Well, and I'm a former psychotherapist too. So I knew your trauma history and I knew all of that. And so when you showed up looking very different, I was like, tell me the story. Like, what's happening here? Because you looked so much lighter and so much happier and unburdened
Exactly. That's
compared to how
literally
you
the
felt.
process we were doing. That's the IFS healing process is you partner with your awakened self and you bring healing energy to the part and learn the story and then they can rewrite it the story if that helps them. And then the last part is a shamanic part where we unburden them of all the rest of their trauma until they're cleaned up and yeah, they start looking brighter inside. It's like they start getting shiny and bright and then they join the healthy family system. And I have felt it, and women that I've done the process with have said the same thing. They feel lighter and they feel brighter.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's such a powerful healing method. I love it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
How do you define embodied awakening?
How do I define embodied waking? That's so funny because that's the same question I asked Benjamin um,
Ah,
in my invitation with him.
we did not plan this, so this
Nope,
is
did not plan this. So now we get to say my version.
yeah,
Because
great.
yeah, back when I was introducing this to people, they're like, "Well, what's embodied awakening?" And I didn't know how to explain it. It's embodying your awakened self. So, what does that mean? Your higher self is obviously, naturally awake. It's not covered up or by the human experience. And so what does awake mean? It's an awareness of your oneness with source. And so that naturally lends itself to the higher self being peaceful and loving and creative and intelligent and all the things that we can be if we're not covered up with the heaviness of the human experience, basically. And so embodied awakening is embodying more of that awakened self. Now, the interesting thing is when the first invocation they gave me was maximum attunement to the frequency of my soul, because like I said, I experienced myself at a soul level. And when I did that invocation, it took me higher. It felt like I was up in the sky above the clouds where there's movement, but there's a stillness. And it's very still, very open, very spacious, very quiet. And, when I first did it, I thought, is this even real? So I went to Benjamin and said, "Hey, would you let me do this and tell me if I'm making this up or not?" And he said, "No, you're it." And he's like, "Do you see how much farther removed this part of you is from your higher self?" I was like, "Yes." He said, "That's why we work with the higher self, because the higher self is closer to the human experience." I was like, "That actually makes a lot of sense." So, yeah, so when I connect with my soul and with the divine frequencies, they feel higher in consciousness than here in the human plane. So, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. That's great.
Okay.
You hinted at this a little bit before, but I'd love to hear you talk more about what led you to create this event, the Experience the Power of Peace event.
Yes, yes. And that starts with another little story. Um,
Great.
Back in December, I was wrestling with something. Actually, I was feeling that my work was changing. I could feel that it was time to move into something new. And I was sitting there and suddenly this peace washed over me, and it was bigger and stronger than anything I had ever experienced before. And after sitting with it for a little bit and thinking about it, I decided I was experiencing the peace of God. And it stayed with me for like 4 hours. It was magnificent. But for the first time, I was given the instruction, go upstairs and turn on Zoom and record this and just be present, because you don't need to guide anybody into any, technique or process or anything. Just being there, they're going to feel this energy through the recording. I was like, okay. So I went upstairs and I sat and I talked a little bit because yeah. Um, and then I turned it off and posted it on YouTube, and I got some really nice feedback from it. So I was like, okay. But yeah, so it kind of told me, when you have a powerful experience like that, it's like, okay, I guess this is where we're moving. So when it came time to come up with the word of the year, I figured it was going to be peace. And around that time, early in the this year, my guide said something else because I had noticed. I know people don't think about this, but when someone asked me, what are your triggers? I said beds and nighttime,
Mm,
and it's like oof. And I'd watch shows or watch commercials where people feel look so peaceful and at night in bed, and I thought, wow, what would that be like
mm,
to be peaceful and not be hyper vigilant and constantly awake and aware. I do sleep, I just don't sleep very deeply, and that's because of the trauma that I lived through as a kid. And so that's why when this came through, it was really powerful to me. They said, look, you've done such a great job of healing all of this stuff, but you still are dealing with the effects of it. And we're going to get you to a place by summer. They even gave me a timeline, where you will be so deeply embodied in peace that it will be unshakable. It will be your new normal. I thought, that's a tall order, but I'm game. I'm open to that. And so I figured, okay, we're gonna be going on a journey here. And it was around that time that I got the invitation to be a part of this summit creation program that's allowing me to create this event. And yeah, and I knew this was going to be a journey. And I learned enough by now to know that, stuff's going to come up, resistance is going to come up, but it's all leading to something better. Like, okay. So a month later, I was in a program with someone, and there's like, oh, we're going to come up with the word for the year. I thought, oh, this will be interesting. So I did the exercise, and I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be peace. And they're like, nope, kind of moved past it. I was like, wait, where did what? And then harmony came up, and then power. I was, oh no, don't like power. And that told me right off the bat, yep, that's going to be your word. I'm like, okay. So it became peace and power. Oh, okay. And then a week later, I was on a Michael Sandler show, and in the live chat, this lady said, if all of us would get together and meditate on peace, we could change the world. And I thought, I totally agree. And I said, let's do it. And she's like, well, what can two people do? But then the next day, I was like, here you go. Here's your title for your summit. It's going to be the power of peace. I thought, okay. And so, yes, I encountered a lot of resistance just in putting the summit together, the normal stuff. But in April, I was given an opportunity to up level to a whole new level than what I had known before. It was the time when the El Salvador prison was very prominent in the news, and as I was looking at these pictures, I could just feel, I could feel the fear and the confusion and the powerlessness, and because that's what I experienced when I was a kid, and it really triggered me, and it wow, took over me big time. And so I did a healing session, and that didn't really work. And then the next day I had a coaching session, and I got to like pour out all of my pain about my business, which was helpful. But then later that night, I got a chance to be on a group individual and group healing session, and I got to be in the love seat. And the memories came up, the feelings came up, and my higher self said, tomorrow you're going to be on the other side of this. You're going to have a whole new perspective. I'm like, okay.
Mm.
And the next morning, I did wake up with a new perspective. I can't remember what it was because what happened next overshadowed all of it. It was Saturday, the day before Easter, and I did another healing session. And in that session, I just oh my goodness, so much energy poured through me like nothing before. And at one point, they're like, yeah, we're going past, present, and future. We're covering the whole timeline here of trauma and suffering. I'm like, okay. At one person, I thought, am I going to make it through this physically? Because I was getting exhausted. I keep knocking this. And he assured me, nope, you're good. Keep going. And then I got to this place of peace and of stillness. I thought, okay, we're on the other side of this. And then I heard him say, you're doing a great job processing the trauma. Hey, what? Hold up here. Wait a minute. I thought we were on the other side of this. No, no, you're still going. But I don't feel anything. He said, Laura, you are so fully in your divinity right now that you're holding it all easily.
Mm.
Wow, that was huge. And I realized that this is where we can get to as light workers. We can get to this place where we're so fully in our divinity that we can hold that peace and hold all the trauma that's happening in the world at the same time and be able to ease and alleviate the suffering on earth while still being in our peaceful state. And wow, I'm just yeah, goosebumps right now. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is what we can do, and this is what we should be aspiring to. That just became so clear to me with that experience. And 2 weeks later, I was at a friend's house because I was still kind of upset with what was going on politically here in this country. Because I've always loved what America stood for. And I just was seeing it being torn to pieces and it was really hurting me. And, but I was struggling specifically with a sense of safety. And I was thinking, do I need to get out of the country to keep my family safe? And so 2 weeks later, I'm at my friend's house and she draws two cards and they say, let the waters flow and honor your emotions. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Well, 30 minutes later, we find out what they meant because she said something about safety and it triggered that fear response in me, and the waters flowed. I cried and I cried and I cried, and I got it all out, the fear that I was feeling. And by the end, it was done. I had had a huge release. And then we looked at the cards and we started laughing because that had not happened before, that the answer would be so immediate. So it was pretty funny. But the thing that I noticed afterwards is I was no longer worried about safety. And I was no longer worried about what was going to happen to the country. All of that was just gone. I could still be present with what's happening, but not be taken over by it. And I feel that's so important. And again, the funny thing is, that's what I talked about with Benjamin in my interview with him. So it's gonna be a cool thing. Um, but yeah, I just realized we can be in this place of peace and be a powerful force for the world in just raising consciousness so that we can, every man, woman, and child can truly experience peace in their lives, in their hearts, their minds, in their lives. So here we are.
Yeah. When you were saying before about the word power, that you were like, no, I don't want that word. I'm guessing it's because you were thinking of power as like coercive, like power over, more like the powerlessness that people feel when they're in this presence of some kind of power like that. Is that what you were thinking?
Yes, yes. When in late January, I was just feeling so powerless with all the stuff that was happening and getting so upset with our government leaders that they weren't standing up to these abuses of power. And I think what happened when that power thing came up is it just it made me aware of the triggering stuff that was still in my consciousness. And yes, because yeah, I mean, my whole childhood had been about these powerful, abusive people making me feel completely powerless. As a matter of fact, the words that I was were given to me at one point is learned helplessness.
Mhm.
They conditioned me to
Yep.
feel helpless. So when I see people abusing power, it re-triggers that helpless feeling that I was literally taught as a child. And so, yeah, it comes down to a redefinition of what power is. And I think that's part of what we're going through right now is we're coming from this patriarchal top-down sense of power to a very different kind of power. And I think that's why when I was preparing for this talk, that peace is power, because I know it deep inside me that peace is power. I just can't articulate it. It's like
Mhm.
I know it. I just can't tell you.
I think all of that's really important because the women I work with are usually afraid of power because they see it as power over. So how would you redefine power now in the context that we're talking about here for this event?
Yes, and the best way I can do that is to share with you a hymn that I have learned since childhood. It's called Mother's Evening Prayer. Well, the hymn is based on a poem written by Mary Baker Eddy called Mother's Evening Prayer. The first line is, "O gentle presence, peace and joy and power.
Mm.
O life divine that owns each waiting hour. Thou love that guards the nestling's faltering flight, keep thou my child on upward wing tonight." And my mom would sing that to me whenever I was feeling sick, and it would just bring this peace over me that I would fall asleep and I'd wake up and I'd be healed.
Mm.
And that is how I experienced healing growing up in Christian Science is we'd turn to God with these hymns or with some truth from the science and health, and it would heal us. Like it just we'd be sick and then it'd be gone. And it's like, yeah, this is normal, you know? It's about a shift in consciousness. And so I think we're being called to shift out of this power over to something else. And we probably don't have words for it yet because it isn't firmly established in our present reality yet. But I think a lot of us know what it feels like and can recognize it and can kind of start to articulate it. But I think that's why at least I can't. There may be people who have figured it out by now, which thank you. I'll be happy to hear it. But I think what we have to do for now, because this was the thing I learned about when I had that experience with myself as a soul, is no one could explain it to me. No amount of talking and explanation could get me to understand that. I had to experience it because I think what we call experiencing is actually a remembering.
Mm.
We're remembering what we've always known to be true. We're remembering what we know to be true right now. It's just this human I someone has said that this human journey is about forgetting and remembering, and I'm starting to think that that's right on, actually. Forgetting and remembering. And so I know the healing power of divine love because that's what Christian Science gave me. It was a very clear, lots of experiences of seeing it and experiencing it myself of the healing power of divine love. But peace as power, like what does that mean? And I've decided that the best way to explain it is to experience it.
Mm.
So that's what we're going to do next. But there's one thing I want to say before we get to that point.
Okay.
And this is as I was preparing this talk, I received a channeled message that was really powerful. And so I want to share that, and then we'll get into the energy work. And it's this: peace on earth isn't some far off dream. Peace on earth is a present possibility. It always has been, but humanity had to want it. Humanity had to grow into it. And now we are. We're evolving toward divine embodiment, toward a new kind of human, one in whom the divine self and human self are integrated, one in whom more of our light can shine through. In truth, love has always reigned on earth. Now humanity is beginning to see it, and more importantly, to remember it. And so I think that's why I these invocations have become such a beautiful tool for me, is because it helps us to experience, which means it's helping us to remember what we've always known to be true. So, if do you have any other questions before we go into the energy portion?
No, go right ahead.
Okay. All right, let's do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to call in and embody our higher selves first. Then we're going to invite a light cleansing because I just find that to be really helpful before we do some energy work. And then we're going to call in and attune to the frequency of divine love. And I think it'll be really powerful and gentle and beautiful for you. So
Great.
here we go. So I invite you to close your eyes. And we're going to connect with our body through our breath. So breathe in a nice, relaxed, expansive breath. And then breathe out. Breathe in. And as you breathe out, we're relaxing and releasing. And already I'm feeling a sense of calm. How are you doing, Laura?
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, there's something so calming in just the simple act of breathing, but it has to be intentional and focused. But yeah, so let's take one more. Breathe in and breathe out. Now I invite you to drop into your heart space. And we're going to open our heart space to divine love. I was given this image recently. Imagine that there are some little people standing at on a doorstep of your heart space, waiting for you to let them in. And so we're going to open that door and let these visitors, these divine visitors, step into our heart space and fill it with their presence. So take a moment and let that energy fill your heart space and the rest of your body with this gentle, loving presence. Yeah. Divine love is all around us all of the time. We actually live and move and have our being in divine love. We just forget. So, this is a way to remember. That feels good. I'm like, well, should we continue on? And they're saying, yes, let's continue on. Okay. So let's see where this goes, because I've not done this before. So from here, we're going to call an embodied awakening. So repeat after me. Maximum embodied awakening
Maximum embodied awakening
that serves highest good, please.
that serves highest good, please.
Relax and you allow. And let the energy of your higher self in. Now, something I want to mention here is we all already have a portion of our higher self in our bodies because that's what animates our bodies. And so, what we're really doing is just inviting more of our higher self in. And so, it is making space and it's pouring in. And I'm feeling kind of a sense of we're kind of there. So, do you feel a sense of peace and calm right now, Laura?
I do.
Is it different from what we just did with the heart space?
It is.
Yeah, yeah, good. Yeah. All right, excellent. So here's a checklist to know if you're an embodied awakening. One, there's no mental chatter. Two, no challenging emotions. Three, you feel peaceful or calm. And four, it's all effortless. Are those four things true for you?
They are.
Perfect. That's embodied awakening. And this is something you can use this invocation throughout the day. If you ever notice that it's kind of fading, you just say maximum bodied awakening, take a couple breaths, let it in, and you're good to go. So, this is something you can do often to stay in that state of awakening. But now we're going to go to the next step. So, we're going to call in energy to cleanse and clear our physical and energy bodies to just kind of get rid of what's ever ready to be released and so that we can have a really nice clean experience when we call in divine love. So repeat after me. Maximum cleansing and clearing
Maximum cleansing and clearing
of all physical and energy bodies
of all physical and energy bodies
to the greatest extent
to the greatest extent
that serves highest good, please.
that serves highest good, please.
And relax and let the energies through. Now, the way this was taught to me as a meditation was to imagine that I was under a shower and this energy is flowing over and through me. So that's what I always kind of see when I'm doing this invocation is the energy is flowing over me and cleansing those energy bodies, but also flowing through me, cleansing and clearing the chakras, the vagus nerve, even the lymphatic system. You can say it out loud or you can just imagine it. Either way works great. But yeah, you can just imagine that this water is just pouring over. You're not having to pull it. You're not having to coax it or guide it. It just falls over you. So you can just relax and allow. And I think we're getting pretty close here. A little bit more apparently. Okay. We'll be patient. You could also imagine that as the water is running over you, you can see the water kind of running down a drain pipe and it starts kind of muddy and then it gets clear. And once it gets clear, you know that the process is done for you. And there's the sign they give me to let me know that we're ready to move on to the next step. Excellent. So here's the next step. Repeat after me, please. Maximum attunement
Maximum attunement
to the frequency
to the frequency
of divine love
of divine love.
to the greatest extent,
I missed that last part, Lord.
to the greatest
To the greatest
extent
extent
that serves highest good,
that serves highest good,
this or something better.
this or something better.
And relax. Ah. Yeah, when I've done this with other ladies, they've reported seeing colors or they feel their heart space just expand. I'm just seeing this and feeling this white light just kind of filling my space. What are you experiencing, Laura?
I'm seeing colors. I'm seeing mostly purple.
Oh, neat. Neat. That's a new one. Usually people say pink.
Yeah, no, it's
That,
very purple, but it's my
that's
favorite
awesome.
color, so maybe that's why.
That might be. Very cool. So we'll just let this run. Because the cool thing is, the more you sit in this energy, the more it's attuning you to its frequency. So, what that's basically doing is, we talk about raising our vibration. I don't like that word. I like raising our frequency better because I can sense frequencies. Um, so the frequency of divine energies is pretty high, and we're kind of in this lower place. So I'm feeling it now. As we attune to this frequency, it's raising us, and I can actually feel like I'm in an elevator and I'm being lifted. Are you
Mhm.
feeling a lift?
I am. It's a little bit
Mm.
different, not so much like an elevator, but more like a floating.
Ooh, there you go. There you go. That exactly. It can, yep, both ways. So yeah, so we're being lifted to this higher frequency. And it's so much fun. Yeah, like feeling like a balloon.
Yep.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So we're just gonna let it lift us. Now, the thing about this is, yes, there's a floaty feeling to it. What's happening is we're being, well, we're sensing ourselves more as consciousness and less of a physical body. And so we're kind of being untethered from that sense of physicality into more of an energetic, conscious state of being. And that's the floaty feeling. And yeah, and so I'm gonna sing a little bit of that hymn to kind of help pull this energy in a little more. But yeah, this is a really nice place. And like I said, the more time you spend in this energy, just the higher in frequency you're being lifted, and it's helping raise your overall energetic frequency. So here's a little song to support you. Oh, gentle presence, peace and joy and power. Oh, life divine, that owns each waiting hour. The love that guards the nestling's faltering flight. Keep thou my child on upward wing tonight. Love is our refuge. Only with mine eye can I behold the snare, the pit, the fall. His habitation high is here and nigh. His arm and serve encircles me and mine and all. Stop. Take a moment to notice how you're feeling now. I feel like that brought something new in. Do you sense that, Laura?
Hmm. I do.
Yeah. I think what it's happening is love is meeting us where, and so instead of us feeling like we're floating towards it, it's coming closer to us. That's my
Hmm.
sense.
It feels a bit more grounded.
Yes, exactly. Like more present
Yeah.
with us, which is beautiful. Alrighty. So now what we're going to do is we've attuned to this frequency and it's lifted us, it's raised our frequency a bit. Now we're going to bring this to the body to embody this new frequency that we've come to. So repeat after me. Spirit that I am, divine allies.
Spirit that I am, divine allies.
Please merge this divine
Please,
frequency
please merge with divine frequency
with my physical body
with my physical body
to the greatest extent
to the greatest extent
that serves highest good, please.
that serves highest good, please.
This or something better.
This or something better.
And then we relax and allow, and oh, you feel it filtering in.
I do.
Yeah. So we're gonna let that merge. Is it feeling uncomfortable for you at all?
No, but it feels more like pouring than filtering.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. If it is feeling uncomfortable for any of our listeners, be just try to relax into it as much as possible. What's happening is it's clearing away anything that just doesn't resonate with this frequency that is um getting in the way a little bit. So the key to that is to just relax as much as you possibly can and breathe through it as much as you possibly can. It will pass. They aren't going to leave you hanging. They're not going to leave you in misery and discomfort. But there might be a little bit of a shakeup and release that needs to happen as this process is happening. So know that you aren't doing anything wrong. This isn't abnormal. You're just being cleaned up a little bit so that you can have this new frequency in your body, and it's all good. So, at some point, the heaviness or discomfort should clear, and you'll feel a little more, yeah, peaceful. There we go. Yeah, I'm feeling that now. So if you're wondering, even though we're recording it right now, energy works beyond space and time. So everyone who is watching this recording, your energy is here. And so I can sense it a little bit and I can sense when something's coming through that needs to be addressed. And then I can sense when it gets resolved. So that's what's happening when I'm saying these things. All righty. And I have a physical signal my guides give me when to know when this process is complete for most everyone. And there it is. All right. So if you like how you're feeling right now, and if it's different from where we began, there's one last step. So, Laura, do you feel like you want to make this your new normal?
Yes, I would like to very much.
Okay. All right. Then here we go. Repeat after me. Spirit that I am,
Spirit that I am,
divine allies.
divine allies.
Please make this
Please make this
my new normal
my new normal
to the greatest extent
to the greatest extent
that serves highest good,
that serves highest good.
this or something better.
This or something better.
And then you can feel it kind of, I keep getting these words sink into permanence.
Mhm.
It's
I like
a
those words.
I like those words. It's a term. I don't know if it's a Harry Potter thing or if it's from some other science fiction that I read, but it's a magic term, like a spell sinks into permanence. And so it's like, okay, that's kind of weird, but okay. So I finally said it out loud. All right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, feeling a little lightheaded. That's interesting.
Mhm.
Ah, all right. And yeah, there we go. So when you feel like the energy process is complete, you can open your eyes and come back to the room.
I forgot where I was.
Yeah. But the cool thing is you should be able to like look around the room, re kind of orient yourself with your physical space and not lose the feeling.
No, I still have the feeling.
Yeah, that's the key to this. I think
Yeah.
that's the difference between somatic energy work versus mental like meditation and things where, it's about words and
Yeah.
things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, I can feel this in my body, so I can now engage with what's around me, but still feel it. So that's the goal here.
Yeah.
So.
I can definitely still feel it. It's very much like a quiet electricity in my body.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so now what does peace feel like to you?
Oh, that's a great question. It's like calm, but beyond calm.
Yeah.
It's very quiet. It's very calm, but I also, at the same time, I feel like this just sort of electricity, just quietly moving.
Yes, like a buzzing energy.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like that's what we feel when more of our higher self is in the body. It's like I'm here and I'm alive and
Yeah.
woo. Yeah.
How do you see this process as like connecting to peace?
Well, the embodied awakening process always brings in peace. But when you attune to that divine love frequency, it's just a whole other place, and it's it's beautiful and it's peaceful and there is a quiet power to it.
Mhm.
Like it's something that to me, peace is a power when peace is so strong within you that no matter what's going on around you, you're like the eye of the storm. It doesn't phase you. You can still be in this equanimity, is what's coming to me, but in this peaceful state. And then because you're able to be in that peaceful state and not being feeling the need to react or react to what's happening, you can respond from a
Mhm.
whole new place of being and of thinking and feeling. And I feel like that can do so much more good for our interpersonal relationships as well as our relationship with our communities, our countries, and the world. Um, yeah, and I think that's what the power is. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense to me.
Yeah, that's my feeling. It's more of a feeling. And think about it, well, an easy way to think of it is, what powerlessness feels like.
Mhm.
Now do you feel more empowered? Nothing's changed, except you. But I feel like even though I haven't had anything to react to or anything, I feel like if something were to suddenly come through, I'd be like, no, I'm good. And it's okay. And now I can bring a loving presence to whatever is coming through. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, I've experienced that when I've been in like medical emergencies, for example, where I've
Hmm.
gotten really calm and present and knew what to do, even though later I look back and like, how did I know to do that?
That to me is when you're in your higher self. That's
Yeah,
like your higher self comes through and says, I got this.
yeah,
And then it kind of backs away and you're like, hey, come back here.
yeah, yeah. And then later you fall apart and you're like, ah.
Right, right. Well, and you know what? That's probably why the higher self backs out, is
Yeah,
because we need we need to do that because if the body doesn't have the opportunity to respond to what just happened, you're storing up stuck trauma, and nobody wants that.
That's right. I've never thought of it that way, but I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, it's just what came to
Yeah.
me when you said it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. Now I get it. That's why you leave the body. Yes. So
Yeah.
that you can be more present with your physical environment and your physical reaction. Yeah, because we all know what stuck trauma in the body feels like and does, and it's not fun.
No, it's not.
So, not
It's not.
fun.
Oh,
So having a process where you can just let those emotions run through you, let the energy run through you, it then, helps keep you in this peaceful state because it's like, that's actually the beautiful thing I learned when I was doing this healing work was that I could be in this state of awakened self, compassionate, calm presence, and at the same time, feel all the feelings that I needed to feel.
mm,
And because I could be in this state, it made the feelings not so hard. And it was much easier to just let them flow through. And also, once you've learned the process, you realize, oh, this isn't so bad. And then you can do more. But yeah, it's really powerful. So I guess that in itself also is an example of the power that we have when we're in our awakened state is we can just do so much that we just can't do from a human place.
mm.
Make
Or a
sense?
resistant place.
Or a resistant place. Well, yeah, because that's what the ego does. It
Hmm.
resists in order to keep us safe. And so this process teaches ego, hey, there's a way to be safe without having to resist
Yeah,
what's
I can
coming
see
at
that.
us. Thank you. That was great.
You're
Hadn't
welcome.
thought of that piece. That was good. Resistance, yes.
It's
Hey.
my years of being a psychotherapist there, Laura. There's lots of resistance.
Fair, fair, fair. Nice. Nice.
Is there anything else you wanted to bring up or talk about before we wrap up today?
Um, I feel like we're in a good place. I hope that through this experience you're starting to get a glimpse of how peace can be powerful, what power can look like um from a divine love place, remembering that ultimately we're all beings of light and love. And so it's like we're coming back to us when we're connecting with divine love. And yeah, I think we're in new times and it's calling for new ways of thinking and new ways of being. And I think this is why right now it's so important that we establish that relationship with our higher self and we start finding ways to access that soul level awareness because they know how to do this. They know where we're going. Which actually reminds me, another channeling that I had a few years ago was I saw Earth, but it was richer and more vibrant in color. And I saw this bridge and I heard the words come out of me. I'm already there. I'm just waiting for the human to catch up. I was like, whoa, what was that? And then the new Earth talk started happening and it hit me last summer. Oh my gosh, higher self's already there. So our higher selves are already in that new earth reality, waiting for us to catch up. And so they literally know where we're headed because they're there and they're just lovingly, gently guiding us to this. And it's going to take a lot of work to unravel all of, 2000 years of patriarchal stuff has to be unraveled and sorted through and cleared so that we can be really in a place where we can, embody the new earth consciousness. So yeah, that's the goal of this event is to help everyone you know, get the tools they need to get there. So
May it be
I'm
so.
may it be so. So,
Well,
yeah.
speaking of tools, we need to talk about your free gift that you're offering to the audience.
Yes, yes, yes. My free gift for everyone for the summit is an integration circle. We're going to hold it a few days after. It's going to be the Wednesday after the summit. And the purpose of it is to come together and kind of process and integrate what we all experience through these next 5 days. And yeah, so it's going to be an opportunity to do some reflecting, possibly some journaling. We'll do a little bit of energy work to just kind of tie it all together and bring it into a neat bow and even get to know one another and share our insights and journey with each other because it can be so powerful, the sharing. So I hope everyone takes me up on this offer and signs up because I would love to have a big party.
I hope so too. I hope so too, because that's really an amazing gift. And also, what I experienced with just the two of us, I can only imagine is magnified when you have more people present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why one thing yeah, I want to mention is we're going to be doing a live chat with each of these interviews when they're released at very specific times because the concept is that the more of us who are doing it together, the more potent the energy so that we can really make an impact. So, hope you take me up on that too. So, yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So everybody go claim that gift. Don't let it sit. You'll forget. Claim it right away. Scroll down a little bit below this video, click on the link and sign up. Laura, where can people find you online? And are there any upcoming projects or events that you'd like the audience to know about?
Well, the cool thing is the summit's going to be airing on YouTube. And so you can find more videos on YouTube to kind of get to know me and my work. I have a website. The link is in the speaker page. And yeah, the integration circle is actually going to be kind of a twofold thing where we're going to process and integrate this experience and then I'm going to spend a little bit of time, not long, just a couple minutes, talking about an opportunity to move through this and into more of this embodiment. And it's going to be a 6 week circle where we're going to call in and embody peace, compassion, confidence, clarity, and joy.
Hmm.
So it'll be a
Love that.
nice, yeah, it'd be a nice little through line like that into that. So yeah, that's what's cooking in my little world.
I love it. I love it. It's
Thank
been
you.
so much fun to be here with you today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your experience and your story. It feels very generous that you were willing to share so much with all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being willing to MC this so that I could be in a good space to be able to share.
Oh, I was very happy too. Very happy. We always have a good time when we get together. So,
Yes, we do.
hey, well, thanks everyone for tuning in and for listening. I hope you received some great energy from this, like I did. I feel amazing. And you have a lot more to look forward to.
Bye, everybody.